hello, everybody. I am attorney Michael Ehline, and as you know, I am an attorney licensed in California and Texas. I don't have my sidekick, Tony Castelli, here with me today, but we did a really great show yesterday exposing one of the presidential candidates and her falsely accusing and arresting at least 1,000 people. And she was forced to release those people because a judge forced her to release them in violation of the exculpatory evidence rule in the Brady decision. And that video is now trending on Twitter, believe it or not. So there's at least one channel that allows free speech and freedom of press, and it's X. And so hopefully you guys will get a chance to watch that. So I'm really happy to be here with you today. And again, thanks, AgeGo. Good seeing you, AgeGo. I'm really glad you're here today. Hopefully we'll pick up some steam. Probably Chili's got its show going. And so I don't want to take any of his thunder away, but you know, if there's any new people coming along, I definitely invite them to join me. We're going to cover jury nullification and what that is and why it's so important. And I'm going to show you a video from a new friend of mine at the 10th Amendment Foundation, where he covers the history of what jury nullification is. I'm going to talk a little bit about the separation of powers doctrine. Oh, that's cool. That's fine. That's fine, AgeGo. I'm sure he's been on for a while. Hopefully he'll get pooped out and come and join me over here, because I'm going to be covering one of his videos today where I talk about false arrest and how if he'd had a trial by jury, if he'd had a patriotic juror on the jury, he could have gotten lucky and gotten someone who understood the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and natural law and had the law nullified as being an unjust law. Hey, Jeff, super awesome that you're here. Just Willie, thunder away. Hoorah, bro. So again, I am an attorney licensed in California and Texas, and I primarily do personal injury law. So I do things, and most of my clients are military veterans. I am an inactive United States Marine, ooh freaking raw, and I love my country. And I volunteered to serve my country as an 18-year-old right out of high school. I was on the bus to MEPS as soon as I graduated, and I just wanted to serve and protect the Constitution, like my father before me, who was also a Marine. And you know, I've had several careers. I was a blue collar construction worker like my father before me, had several businesses. I was Rodney Dangerfield's limousine driver. I owned a couple of health clubs. I helped start the LA Fitness Health Club chain when they Orange County Athletic Club sold to them. I knew the Whiting family. I'm a native of Orange County. I grew up in Anaheim Hills, Huntington, and Newport Beach. Used to be a surfer. And that was before the Marxists took over California. And unfortunately, I had to flee California with my family because I was tired of my children being indoctrinated by my enemy. Like Malcolm X says, why would you let someone teach your children who is your enemy, right? Thanks, AgeGo. I appreciate that. And so today we're going to talk about what jury nullification is. I think I already covered that. But I just want everybody to know that I started out doing criminal defense and appellate work. I was a judicial extern for the California Court of Appeal. I worked over at the Ronald Reagan building. My strong suit is in appellate law, and I love reading case law and writing briefs. I've done several pro bono writs of habeas corpus, trying to get prisoners out of jail on my own dime, just like I'm doing today on my own dime, trying to help you guys, because my job, I believe I've been called by a higher power to help people learn how to become critical thinkers, because I believe that the administrative state is trying to dumb people down. They want stupid voters. They want to import people from third world countries, primarily peasants, illegally, so they can bypass the legal requirements to become citizens, aka learn about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So they'll just have people that are just dependent on the government from cradle to grave and who will vote the way the politicians want. And I just disagree with that. I think that that's terrible. And I agree with you, AgeGo. Why let your kids learn nonsense? Homeschool. Absolutely. That's the way to go, guys. And, you know, you hear people say, oh, but if you homeschool, they won't be socialized. Why would you want your kids to be socialized by your enemy? That's ridiculous. Your parents, you brought these beautiful babies into the world. You know, they were endowed with certain unalienable rights by their creator. Why would you let your enemy raise your children? It's just absolutely insane that anybody would think that that's okay to do. So, hey, Rami, good seeing you, man. I'm super happy. So Rami and I, you know, we've developed a pretty cool relationship. I'm just trying to give the room a little bit of time to fill up. Rami is a super cool guy, and Rami has really helped me out As some of you may or may not know, I've had some health issues with the kidney stone where I've just been dying. So today I'm a little, I took a muscle relaxant, so I'm a little more relaxed than normal. But otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get through the show today because I'm hurting for certain. But anyways, let's get back on track. So everything that I do here is separate and apart from my work that I do for a law firm. Okay. So anything that I say, don't consider it to be something that's necessarily the view of the firm that I work for. And I do freelance work for a lot of different firms. And so I just want you to know, I just like helping people. And so this is what I do to teach and give back. But again, my wife and kids don't always appreciate that I spend so much time, but it's become a labor of love for me to do these shows. And so I feel like it's something that I have to do. And so I'm doing it. But again, if you want to purchase memberships or you want to get a copy, a digital version of my ebook, here, I'm going to put this bigger on the screen for you. If you want to get a digital version of my ebook, My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, I do have copies of the digital version of this book available on the homepage of YouTube, of my YouTube channel, which I'll show you in just one second when I put this book down. I'm selling them for $19.95, and I walk you through the process of how I became a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad on the California State Bar Law Office Study Program. And I talk about the other states that offer similar programs. And believe it or not, this is the way that people used to become lawyers before academia took over with their administrative state academic system, where I believe they're just brainwashing people to go along with whatever the administrative state wants them to believe. And unfortunately, that includes giving bogus jury instructions that jurors don't have the right to decide the law, which I believe, based on U.S. Supreme Court precedent, and Lysander Spooner in particular, and John Jay and Thomas Jefferson, of all of our founding fathers, that there is a right of a jury to decide both the law and the facts, which is something we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some times where prosecutors tried to go after people, jurors, for engaging in jury nullification. And I'll cover a little bit about the United Nations and how they put Nazis to death for upholding laws in their country that were unjust. So I find it quite hypocritical that our administrative state now thinks that it's okay to say that you have to uphold unjust laws when we fought a war against Nazism. And the primary Nuremberg argument that we made was you were enforcing an unjust law and you had a moral duty not to enforce it. Just remember what I'm saying, guys, because you were only one generation away from losing our freedom. And right now, the administrative state is brainwashing children into hating their country, in my opinion. And so this is something that I definitely want to, and thank you, Age Go. That is the link for my ebook. And I'm also going to show you really quick, just on my YouTube page, how easy it is to find my ebook. Let me just shrink this down a little bit. Okay. Okay, so this is my YouTube page. And by the way, guys, I hit 16,000 followers before I was banned for discussing things that YouTube feels are inappropriate, AKA things that I can't talk about, right? And I won't talk about them now. But I've 16,000 subscribers. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. That's a big mark to pass, especially for a lawyer, because lawyers are kind of boring, right? But if you go to my YouTube page, you'll see right here, my YouTube page, it's at Michael Ehline. You just open this up, you scroll down from the about, and you can see I got my personal blog link. I've got the law firm that I work for here. And then right below that, 1999, that's what it is, 1999 for my PayPal. And you just click on that and you can purchase a copy of my ebook. Even if you're not going to read it, buy one for your friends or family. And if somebody's purchased one recently, please let me know in the sidebar. Thanks, Age Go. And you're right, Rami, the truth is censored. You know who rules over you and who controls the state by who controls what you can say. So yeah, lawyers are pretty boring. I agree. But I try not to be boring. I try to bring things of substance because I believe that I am a man of substance. And I believe that I have a higher calling because I was blessed with a very high IQ. And I've always been concerned and interested in how government works and where our rights come from. Is there a creator? And if so, what is my destiny as a human? And so I believe that I'm a man of destiny. And today we're going to talk about again, natural law and what jury nullification is. And so first we'll start off by saying there are 4 boxes with which to defend our freedom. Okay. And we have the soapbox, which would be the First Amendment, right? The right to petition the government for redress of grievances, the right to assemble, right? And the right, of course, to speak freely, right of religion. So, it encompasses so much more than that. But again, the First Amendment is simply a recognition of a pre-existing right. And it's only, look, all the amendments to our Constitution, some of our founders didn't even want to have them in there because they just assumed that people would be intelligent enough to know that they had pre-existing rights, because our country was based upon a lot of the research done by John Locke, and of course the totalitarians like maybe the Obamas or the Harrises. They would support the Hobbesian philosophy, where you have a great Leviathan, or the World Economic Forum side. That would be like the far left. And then you have the traditional liberals like myself. I am a traditional liberal. And what that means is I believe in individual rights, freedom of speech, natural law. And so that would be considered like the John Locke side, right? That would be the natural law academic. And that's somebody who believes that your rights come from an all-powerful creator, which is exactly what the Declaration of Independence says. And well, many people say, well, yeah, but the Constitution overrode the Declaration. No, it didn't. The Declaration of Independence was incorporated by reference into our Constitution. It specifically says in the year of our independence, right on the Constitution. That's incorporating all of our founding documents, all the way back to the Magna Carta, the Confirmatio Confirmatum, so many amazing documents, so many things you guys need to read that were incorporated, unless they went against American common law, our Bill of Rights, because the king constantly went against the Bill of Rights so much that we ended up beheading a king. I don't know if you remember that, but the War of the Roses. So there's such rich history. And our founders believed that we were just Englishmen that were free. That's all. They considered themselves to be Englishmen. So the soapbox would be the first and most important right that you would have, the right to get out there and speak and assemble, yell at cops, and make yourself known, right? And then if that doesn't work, you always have the ballot box to change the laws. But many people feel disaffected. We saw in our last election, people from the administrative state putting up pieces of cardboard to block constitutionally mandated poll watchers from being able to see what the people are doing who are back there counting. We saw a lot of things going on that many people feel were unfair, to the point where at least half of the population, from what I've heard, feels that big tech and people who like the World Economic Forum and George Soros are unfairly interfering. And so a lot of people have given up on the ballot box, right? So much so that there are many politicians now who say that, speech needs to be restricted, right? People need to be silenced. Ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter and made it X, all of these same people said, oh, they're private companies. They have the right to say what they want, because they were all on the same political spectrum. Every single Silicon Valley website, every single one of them, every single, what do they call it? Social media site supported one political party, as has National Public Radio, government subsidized, by the way. And all of the news stations, they're all controlled by a company, I believe, called BlackRock, or at least there's an interest in these. And they support only one political side. So they've never been fair. They've never been balanced. And even when I was growing up, all the adults would call it the liberal media. Now they call it the Marxist media. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys have heard that before. So because the ballot box now is not trusted by many people, a lot of the people on the other side who hate people like Elon Musk, who believe in maximum speech, want to pass hate speech laws and different types of laws to suppress your speech, to suppress your First Amendment rights, so you don't have the ability to speak up. And they want to call it misinformation. And of course, we've seen time and time again these same people who want to label things misinformation, like they said the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian. And now we know some certain that those same people who were saying that knew the whole time that it was real, and they lied about it. And those are the same people who want to say people like you and I are engaged in misinformation. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with what I just said. Wow, we got a lot of comments in here. Wow, thanks guys for showing up on a Saturday. Thanks. Hold on a minute. I better say hi to everyone. So I got Copser 5150. Thank you, brother. Rami, always. Thank you. Sean Combs got out early on good behavior. That has got to be BZ Watchdog. There's nobody else that has a sense of humor like that. That is so cool. And by the way, make sure to support BZ Watchdog and Chili de Castro. If somebody has their links, drop them in the sidebar for me into the chat bar. Make sure to support BZ Watchdog, Chili de Castro, Delete Laws, and I'll think of it in a minute. Brick Jonesy. Make sure to support Brick Jonesy. And make sure to like and subscribe to their channels as well. We got to get Brick Jonesy monetized. Hopefully Let's OTVO will show up, and hopefully Chili will show up. I know that he was doing a live, but I can't imagine him going for more than 4 or 5 hours, for crying out loud. So hopefully he'll come by and say hi. You know, I'd love to see some of my buddies from his channel come by and say hi. So anyways, again, many people are disaffected. They feel disaffected by elections. They see, you know, this mass influx of illegal aliens, and a lot of people think that that's being done to try to sway elections. Obviously, I'm not allowed to form an opinion on that, because if I do, I could be banned or timed out. So I'm not even going to go there. Now, the next box that you have is the jury box. Okay, this is what our founding fathers. This is a country born in violent revolution, and they believe strongly and heavily in the jury. And there are many stories. There's even one of our presidents. Before he became a president, he was a lawyer, and he defended the redcoats who shot at colonists and killed some of them. And I think he won that case. And so the right of the jury, the power of the jury has always been a powerful thing. And then, of course, once the jury system fails, the Second Amendment gives us the right to the cartridge box. So give me a bunch of ones if you guys believe in that, because that's what our founding fathers of this country believed in. Absolutely. These were the 4 most important boxes with which to defend our freedom. And so now, with respect to jury nullification, well, gosh, I don't even know where to start. Let's start with some videos of false arrest, and then I'll get into the law of jury nullification and how, for example, if you're falsely arrested and you live in a place like Ironton, Ohio, right, where everybody's like related to the cop or the judge, and that's your jury, you know, you're going to get a hanging jury. You're going to get convicted, right? And when I was with the city attorney's office, I remember overhearing conversations about how they always wanted to get people from like Asia, especially communist China, on the jury, because the prosecutors always felt, because they come from a communist totalitarian country, and it had nothing to do with their race, it had to do with their culture. So just make sure you understand, this is not a racial comment, but if they come from a communist country, they're going to always convict. And so they always wanted to get Asians on the jury. That was the biggest deal I remember. It was a big deal if you were a prosecutor, because you knew, or you thought anyways, you had a much greater chance at a conviction. So it's similar to Ironton, Ohio, right? Where if you have a bunch of people who are related to the judge or the cops, and a cop has put a charge against you and you're on the jury, you almost feel obligated to convict, right? So it's not really necessarily always a jury of your peers. And so because of that, we inherited this amazing device called nullification. And Thomas Jefferson spoke very highly of it. And I'm going to talk to you about it today. But before we get into that, I want to show you a couple examples of false arrests. I'm going to show you one that Brian did, and I'm going to show you another one, Chili de Castro's false arrest. And that's why I was kind of hoping Chili would show up. But you know, I even tried to do the show late to give him time to get his cast done, because I don't want to mess around with that guy, because you know he's the reason I'm here today, guys. You know what I mean? Chili de Castro is the reason I'm on YouTube, because of what happened to him, his false arrest, several false arrests, and then after having to visit him in jail and see what he went through, see what a patriot this guy is, how he was willing to like give up his freedom for what he believes in. It really touched me. And so it makes me want to come here and touch you back with my advanced knowledge of the law and history. I'm not just a lawyer. I am a legal historian. When I grew up, we didn't have the internet. I spent all of my time at the library. My parents were divorced. My mom was a salesperson doing real estate. And so I just went to the library and read books. I read every single book that I could find about American history, law, everything. I mean, literally every single book that I could find. I think I probably read the entire library from the time I was 7 years old until I was 16. And so I have a lot of knowledge and I love sharing it. So you don't have to get some stupid degree from some communist run institution that brainwashes you to hate your country. You can be a critical thinker like me. And I want to teach you how to be a critical thinker. So the first thing that I'm going to do is share with you this video of a false arrest to give you sort of the underpinnings of what a false arrest looks like. And then again, jury nullification, by the way, guys, jury nullification could be used in any number of circumstances. And so I have to give you the caveat because I am an officer of the court and I know judges hate it when juries know that they have rights of nullification. So I'll just tell you this. I'm not encouraging nullification. I'm not telling you how to get out of jury duty by saying that you believe in nullification or any of that stuff. What I'm doing is simply pointing out that this is an inherent, unalienable right that has been passed on through our Constitution and through our English common law system to our American common law system. I'm just sharing history with you, like forbidden history. So I'm just sharing that with you, and you can make up your own mind. This is not legal advice. So give me a bunch of ones if you understand I'm not giving you legal advice. That's not the purpose here. My purpose here is to educate you about what your rights are. And then I want you to do your own research because I encourage everyone to be critical thinkers. I don't want people to parrot what I say. You can be part of Team MPE. That's absolutely what I want. But I want individuals like in the Marine Corps. I want free thinkers. In the Marine Corps, they taught us to take personal initiative. If one of our officers got taken out, it was our job to take over the leadership position. It was a different philosophy than in the Army. Every Marine has to be able to be a rifleman and to be able to lead. So I saw Lance Corporals who had been in combat positions who came back and they were marching around sergeants and corporals in admin. You see this Lance Corporal with freaking combat action ribbon, Purple Heart, right? I mean, legit Marines, but Lance Corporal because maybe, they got in trouble or they just don't want to be a corporal, right? They just want to be a fighter. They want to be a trigger puller. But in the Marine Corps, being in a combat unit is what it's all about. It's experience that matters in the Marine Corps, not your rank, not your degree. It's akin to someone with a degree as opposed to someone with real life experience, right? I take exception to someone who thinks that they're smart because they have a piece of paper that they spent $100,000 on. I think people who dug ditches, who built houses from the ground up, those are the types of people I want in leadership positions, not someone who read Marxist philosophy for some commie professor. I don't want people like that in charge of my country. I want doers, not people who just think that they're special because they have some piece of paper that they wasted a bunch of money on. So underwater basket weaving or whatever they got their degree in, right? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. I think most of the people in Team MPE agree with me on that. That we need people in leadership who are doers, not people who are talkers and academics. That's the beginning of the downfall of society is when you have academics in charge of your country. Absolutely insane. Those are the types of people that Alexander the Great would hire to maybe help educate his kids, to teach them about philosophy maybe. But beyond that, the real men were always warriors first. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that real men should be warriors first. Now, I'm going to give you an example right now. Thanks, Rami. I'm going to give you an example right now of a false arrest. And this is one of Brian's videos. And then I'm going to get into a Chile de Castro video. And that's what got me sucked into this whole YouTube thing, helping Chile out with some out-of-state matters when he was in Nevada jail. And so I would be visiting him at the Clark County Detention Center. But then a bunch of these frauditor people who hated him started calling the jailers and complaining about me, saying he's not really a Nevada lawyer, so he's not allowed to see his client. And so they banned me from seeing him. So I just want to show you how tyrannical the government can be and how evil these frauditor people are who just hate Chile because he stands up for what's right, which is for freedom and maximum free speech. So now what I'll do is I'll get into this video and then I'll get into the history of jury nullification. So stick around. It's going to be a really, really good show today, guys. This is going to be, I think, one of the best shows that I've ever done because I've really researched this material. And this happens to be material that I'm really familiar with. So let's watch this first so you can learn about what a false arrest is. And again, jury nullification can come into play not just with a false arrest, it can come into play with anything, right? Let's say you're arrested for hate speech because you say something bad about Bill Gates, or you say something bad about Kamala Harris or the administrative state who wants to rule over you like George Soros. Because that's what's coming if this election goes the wrong way. They've already said that they want to pass laws that take away your right to criticize the government, which is exactly what they did in the Soviet Union, guys. I'm just blown away that our young generation is so brainwashed by the Marxist education system that they even think that this is something that is a good thing. But let's watch this, and then you'll understand more about what a false arrest is, and we can apply that to any type of a criminal charge.
You're going to get arrested.
Why did he seize your property?
I done got nothing. I got no drugs, no nothing. They just taking my property. What's wrong with me? They got a 5-year-old daughter with a single phone. He said, fuck up.
Now what are you manhandling him for? Leave me alone. You do your business. Don't mind mine. Excuse me?
Come over here with me.
Excuse
You
me?
can't stand here and start screaming at people across the
Excuse me?
street. You
He started hollering at me first, sir.
walk over here with me.
So what law is that you can't holler at people across the street? I just showed you that the soapbox is the first line of defense in a constitutional republic. So anybody who can put in the sidebar or the comment channel there, tell me what law that is that you can't holler across the street. I'd really like to know that. Let's keep watching.
I'd ask you to back up and leave me alone.
You're going to get arrested.
I'm going to get arrested for what?
You're
For
interfering
what?
with the police investigation.
I'm not
You
interfering
can't
with
start
nothing.
screaming along
I'm
the
not
road.
interfering with
Look at all
nothing.
You can't start screaming along the road.
When somebody hollers at me, I'm going to respond back. You can't lock me up for disorderly conduct.
You're under
All
arrest.
right.
On August 8th, 2023, the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department in Cumberland, Maryland, had a guy pulled over on the side of the road, and it looked like they were harassing him. While the Sheriff's Department had the road partially blocked to the point where it was impeding traffic, Tri-State Audit News decided to exercise his unalienable right to record these public
Amen.
officials on the side of the public roadway. Now, since we know how dreadfully afraid cops are of video cameras, we can pretty much predict how this ends up. But stay tuned because there is a twist.
By the way, if anybody has Brian's YouTube channel or his Twitter handle or whatever, please drop it in the comments bar. I really like Brian's videos. I think he's one of the best there is. This guy is a pro. Just listen to him narrate. Way better than me, guys. Give me a bunch of ones for Brian.
He give me my phone. I don't got no charges. I'm asking him to give me my phone. So I can call. Make sure my daughter gets the substance. He won't even do that.
Yeah? Why did he seize your property?
I done got
Thanks,
nothing.
Rami. Appreciate
I
it,
got
brother.
no drugs, no nothing. They just taking my property.
So why is he
This is
seizing?
my first time ever being out here my whole life.
Why is he seizing your property?
That shit ain't right, bro.
No, it's not.
I asked you many times, and then I asked everybody, can you please ask my phone
Good. He gonna try to come up forward.
So he's about, what, 50 feet away, guys? He's not being that rambunctious. He's just asking the guy, are you okay? Why are they taking your property? Doing what I would probably be doing. Definitely Chili DeCastro would be doing that. That's too bad, Brace for Pleasure. That's too bad. And I wonder how many push-ups Karen can do. I would say probably 3. What do you guys think? Give me a bunch of 1s if you think she can do 3. Give me a bunch of 2s if you think she can do 4. And give me a 3 if you think that she can do more than 4.
Sir, if you can move so I can get out, please.
Yeah, you can get out. Come on back. You cut out there.
That was good, Rami.
That'll work just fine.
Jeff, I think you're probably right. Oh, by the way, I found out why there's hardly any female police officers in Nevada. They have to do 20 push-ups. 20. My wife can barely do 10, and she's like a fitness person. She trains under a former Miss Olympia, and she can barely do 10, and she is built. So that's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. That's what it's about. But the government would have you believe there's no difference between men and women. And I'll tell you guys right now, that's ridiculous. I would have never been able to get up at 3 a.m. to breastfeed my kids. My wife is full of love and passion for those children, like only a woman can give children. There's no way a man can ever give a child the kind of love that a mother can. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that, guys. That is just like from my heart. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's absolutely absurd, this whole woke movement. Let's keep watching. Oh my gosh, Brett Ray. Brett Ray, oh my God, thank you so much. Everybody give a bunch of ones for Brett Ray. Hooking me up again, getting memberships out to my followers, people who care about me and my family. So now we can share the love of Team MPE with the rest of the world is back channel members. And remember, guys, if you're a member of Team MPE through Rami or through BZ Watchdog, you can reach out to me and I will take your calls on the back channel. If you're a member, even though it's only a couple of bucks a month, you know, I know I charge a lot of money, but for you guys are special to me. And it's not about the money. It's about the passion and the love that I have for America and the constitutional republic that I served as a Marine. So let's keep going.
The man has nothing on him. He's gonna take his stuff anyway. They don't care about causing problems in somebody's life.
Video's only like 5 minutes, guys. Thanks, HGO. Hopefully I'm not boring you too much. That's just how some of these are, but it picks up.
All they care about is their ego.
You think so?
Their
Brett?
ego, their reputation being hurt. They don't care if they ruin that man's life.
And of course, we know, guys, that law enforcement likes to target not just black people, but poor people, because they know it's much more difficult for them to defend themselves. And in the past, when I was able to afford it, when I was making money, you know, I was doing those cases pro bono. It's just unfortunate that when Newsom shut down the economy, it wiped out my firm. A lot of people went under when he destroyed our economy in favor of, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to lose my channel right now until I build up enough followers to move over to Patreon. But I think you guys can read through the lines. I agree, Brett. A bunch of ones for Brett's comment. Make sure to double tap the screen too. In vertical mode, that's the way I get my likes. And save the video. Always save the video, guys. Save to your favorites. That shows the algorithm that you really love my channel. That's more important than subscription, even likes. That if you press save to your favorite, that's the most important thing you can do for my channel. Thank you.
Now what are you manhandling him for?
Got the torture cuffs on him.
Leave me alone.
So I've represented clients who have lost their fingers and hands from those torture cuffs. You can't tell me those aren't torture cuffs. They can destroy your nerves. They can absolutely destroy you. And the pain sometimes lasts forever. And people that have bad shoulders or prior shoulder injuries, like a lot of Marines I know, that's enough to destroy them to where they're immobile for the rest of their lives.
You do your business. Don't mind mine.
George ain't even call her, bro. Wait, though. Yo, I gotta call the dude. She's
Exactly. They don't care if they mess the man's life up
They don't care.
or for their ego.
Yeah, and to get a caller, to get a promotion.
Excuse me?
Come over here with me.
Excuse
You
me?
can't stand here and start screaming at people across the
Excuse me?
street. You
He started hollering at me first, sir.
I've got a
walk
cane.
over here with me.
I'd ask you to back up and leave me alone.
You're going to get arrested.
I'm going to get arrested for what?
You're
For
interfering
what?
with the police investigation.
I'm not
You can't
interfering with
start
nothing.
screaming along
I'm
the
not
road.
interfering with
Look at all
nothing.
these people stopping and looking
The
at you.
cop hollered at me first.
You can't
Thank
do
you
that.
very much.
You can't do
Well,
that.
tell him he can't do that.
Come over here.
I'm going to respond when somebody hollers at
You
me.
can't start screaming along the road.
When somebody hollers at me, I'm going to respond back.
Move off the shoulder over to the side. Yeah. Sir,
Right now, I'm feeling
you're going to get locked up for disorderly conduct.
disorderly conduct. You can't lock me up for disorderly conduct.
You're under
All
arrest.
right, they're locking me up for disorderly conduct. I wasn't.
Okay, so you heard it. Disorderly conduct, a vague and ambiguous statement. Disorderly could be anything. Could be anything the cop wants it to be. So when we talk about jury nullification in a little bit, you'll understand why our founding fathers felt that it was so important. Let's keep going.
Disorderly. You hollered at me.
Whoa, you didn't swing that.
You just burned me.
Swinging.
You just burned me with your cigarette.
How did I burn?
You just burned me with your cigarette.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So that's a pretextual excuse to charge him with battery, resisting arrest. The guy's got a cigarette in his hand. He's got a cane. And these a-hole cops are literally going to say that he burned him with a cigarette while they're trying to put torture cuffs on him. The guy's disabled, okay? He might be screwed up. He might have mental problems. He could be a vet. He could be screwed up from the Vietnam War. And that's the point that I'm trying to make, guys, is that police officers should be trained in de-escalation, and they should treat everybody like it's their crazy uncle and show them respect. Our whole country has gone downhill. There's no more respect for elders. When I go to restaurants, people don't open doors for ladies or elderly people. I literally have to stand there when I see elderly people coming and I see like 5 or 6 young people come through. They just open the door, walk through. They don't give a shit about anybody. It just blows my mind. I still do it because I'm a gentleman, but honestly, people need to learn civility. And our police force is an example of the lack of civility and a lack of respect for elderly people, minorities like Black people who may not have as good of an education, who may be poor, and they just treat them like dog trash. And it makes me just disgusted. Give me a bunch of ones if you're disgusted too.
So Tri-State Audit News was arrested, not because he actually committed a real crime. He was arrested because he and his camera removed from the officers something they desperately desire: the blanket of darkness and secrecy that allows them to conduct their lawless enterprise on an innocent man without being interrupted by, pesky transparency. What did they justify their arrest with? They claimed that he was resisting and interfering with an arrest. They charged him with disorderly conduct, and they charged him with obstructing and hindering. All these charges were dismissed by the district attorney. And the reason they were dismissed is because Tri-State Audit News was recording.
That's
Today I
the
went
only
to
reason.
court for these charges on this arrest. They were no processed, dismissed. So we, the people, have once again won. All charges were dismissed. Another win for we, the people.
Moral of the story: always record the
Everything.
police. I'll leave the link to Tri-State Audit News in the description and the pinned
Somebody
comment.
throw
If you
the-
visit him.
Somebody please throw the Tri-State Audit link. I'm not a subscriber, but if you throw it in there, I'll subscribe right now. People like this, like Brian and Chili and Tri-State Audit, this is literally our last line of defense against the administrative state. Again, it's not the police state. This is the administrative state. The police are simply the enforcers of the politicians. And what makes me really blown away by law enforcement officers is that the first thing that these Marxist politicians do when the police violate someone's rights under the instructions of these same politicians is throw the police under the bus. So it always strikes me as interesting. that they still want to be police when they know that the people they work for are the lowest form of whale garbage on the planet.
No, here's the deal sent you. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, the links are in the description, or you can just become a channel member and you can grab a hard-hitting conversation starting design. You can
see, he understands the Second Amendment as well. So that's a big deal. So let me just see what I got over here, guys. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, before we get into the Chile de Castro video, I'm going to get into a article that I wrote years ago, and it had to do with jury nullification in a personal injury case. But I'm going to explain to you guys a little bit about what jury nullification is. And then I have an amazing reaction video that I'm going to do from the 10th Amendment Foundation after we do Chile's video. But I just want to I want you to see what I wrote years ago, because I cover a lot of things that the 10th Amendment Foundation is not covering when it comes to jury duty, not just your right of potentially nullifying a bad law, but how you would have to handle this as a juror without getting arrested and thrown in jail for exercising an unalienable right. Okay, that's how bad it's gotten. So let's just get into that really quick. So is jury nullification kosher in a personal injury case? But it could be any case. It just happens to be that this is for a personal injury firm. And, you know, I was talking about it specifically personal injury, but it can go for pretty much any kind of law. Okay. So understanding the law of nullification. First, this post is not legal advice. All right, guys. So give me a bunch of ones that you guys understand. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm not trying to teach people how to get out of jury duty, because a lot of people in California say they believe in nullification because instantly they get thrown off the jury. Of course, the judge will say, well, you'll follow the law, right? And of course, they'll say, well, not if I disagree with the law. I'm not going to follow it. And typically the judge will immediately empty out the courtroom of any jurors, try to browbeat the guy to say, you will follow the law, and try to threaten them, right? Make them scared. But the guys like Chile de Castro won't go for it, and ultimately they'll be dismissed from jury duty. That's how it usually happens. So I'm not trying to, to tell you to do this as a way to be on or off a jury. In fact, I think people in my audience would be better deciders of fact and law than anybody else out there, because you're making an active effort to learn critical thinking skills or improve upon the critical thinking skills that you have as non-lawyers by getting a lawyerly information from me and learning how to think like a lawyer. All right. So I'm merely pointing out my opinions and conclusions. But for one, I do believe it's kosher for a jury ultimately to determine the law and the facts, not just the facts, because every trial I've ever been to, the judge always says, it's my job as the judge to decide the law, and it's your job to decide the facts, and I'm going to tell you what the law is. Even though you still, if it's a vague or ambiguous law, you're left like, well, how the hell am I supposed to know what the law is when that law doesn't even make sense? Give me a bunch of ones if you know what I'm talking about, like resisting arrest or public nuisance. Like, what the hell is this guy what does that mean? What does that mean, right? And they'll give you jury instructions that sometimes are even more confusing than the oral instructions. So, but I think that it's a court's job is vital. I do believe that the court's job is vital to be a referee, right? To make sure you have two pissed off parties, right? You've got one side trying to get they're guilty, and the other side trying to get they're not guilty. Or in a civil case, you got, some side trying to get a liability and the other side trying to get them off, right? Trying to get a defense verdict. So, however, its role, again, is merely to guide the arbiters of justice, the jury. My opinion should in no way guide you in your decision to understand the law and keep it well. As Thomas Aquinas would say, know the law and mean to keep it well. That's why I always say that, because I really love Thomas Aquinas. So what is jury nullification? The definition is a great question and a great place to start. But why? Well, because the terminology can mean many things to many people. It must be more thoroughly understood. It encompasses items, as will be explained, many items, as will be explained. In summary, jury nullification is a juror's right. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get the mouse working for me right here. And duty to ignore or not enforce what it considers to be an unjust law. However, it also deals with the juror's role in finding a court's misapplication of a just law, right? So if the court's misapplying a law unlawfully, like a hanging judge, or like these political persecutions against Orange Man, I think most people capable of critical thinking realize that all these charges that were brought against Trump were political persecutions, exactly like what they did in the Soviet Union to try to make him look bad, basically election interference. That's what many people say. So some have called this a juror's pardoning power. It is typically used in criminal matters. For example, jury nullification may happen when a jury is convinced beyond a reasonable doubt of a defendant's guilt. However, despite the evidence, the jury votes to acquit them of the charges anyways. A recent example may include the O.J. Simpson criminal case. If you guys remember that, I think most people felt that he was guilty, but they just didn't like the cops because they thought the cops were scumbags. And one of the officers used the N-word and lied about saying that he'd ever used the N-word. I can't remember the guy's name, but he totally did a disservice to the LAPD, total scumbag. And he ends up becoming like a Fox News guest host or something. What a disgrace to Fox News to have that guy anywhere near anyone. I mean, the guy should be in prison, in my opinion. Furman, I think his name was. I mean, like Führer, man, yeah, basically, right? I mean, no wonder so many people hate the LAPD, right? I mean, give me a break. But anyways, but then again, understand the procedure. The jury could try and vote to convict a person even though it's not sure of the guilt or innocence. And that happens a lot. The judge will pressure the jury to, get the conviction, man, because he doesn't, want to wait 5 or 6 days for deliberation. But at least that, in that last example, if the evidence fails to support a conviction, the judge may still direct a verdict of acquittal, right? And that happens also where the judge feels like the jury just shouldn't have convicted, but that gives a lot of power to a judge. And with absolute power comes absolute what? You guys already know what I'm going to say. So can a jury nullify a personal injury case? Well, yes, you can. You can compare and contrast a little bit. In a criminal case, if a jury returns an acquittal, then generally it's game over. But neither the court or prosecutor is allowed to appeal a criminal acquittal. However, in a personal injury matter, that's different. So what about personal injury matters? Well, jury nullification may also occur in personal injury law questions. For example, the verdict is generally a finding of liability or lack of accountability rather than a finding of guilty or not guilty, which I discovered earlier. And I've got a citation, Lars Noah, civil jury nullification. That's an Iowa Law Review article. It's on this article that I have, and that's in the description of this video. Furthermore, the Seventh Amendment protects and recognizes pre-existing natural rights of the jury. The right of the jury, trial by jury, shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of common law. It appears well settled that a jury nullification is even a duty. After all, the juror must be in the conscience of the community, Why nullify a personal injury case? And again, this could be a criminal case as well. First, it is easy to foresee why a juror would want to nullify a bad law in a civil or criminal case. In a personal injury case, it's unique because the jury could hate both the defendant and the plaintiff. So a nullifying jury could use all the strategies to derail an economic recovery, but the jury could still simultaneously dislike the defendant and award him $1, right? Award $1 to the plaintiff. You guys understand what I'm saying? Like, if they don't like so for me, I won't take a personal injury case unless my client's likable. If I have some nut job who's texting me all day, telling you better call me, I've got this great case, that person is not somebody I would ever want to have as a client because they think that they know better than me. You hire me because I have the experience. I've got the 20 years in practice. You're somebody who doesn't. And I appreciate it that you think that you know what you're doing, but you don't. And that's why you're talking to me. So don't try to tell me your case is a slam dunk and that I have to help you. That's not going to work for me. Now, what are the significant reasons why jury nullification can become a duty in a civil or a criminal matter? Well, after the German race laws were passed, Nazis targeted the Jews with jail and wealth confiscation. Look at how the German Jews had their private property confiscated in pre-World War II Germany. Anti-Semitism and the persecution of Jews represented a central tenet of Nazi ideology. Sounds like critical race theory against white people today, guys. It's no different, in my opinion. In their 25-point party program published in 1920, Nazi party members publicly declared their intention to segregate Jews from Aryan society and to abrogate Jews' political, legal, and civil rights, exactly like safe spaces on college campuses. Think about it. It's no different. Had I been a juror, I would not have convicted a Jew who had failed to yield their property or civil rights to the state. Would you have done so? All of my mentors were Jewish, pretty much, except for one Irish guy who I consider to be my dearest friend. But everyone else was Jewish, and they're just people, guys. They're the people that I knew and know as Jews are good people, and if you got a problem with them, you probably shouldn't be on my channel. Now, what if a criminal law was passed called white privilege law, that whites had to give up their property to pay reparations to the descendants of enslaved Africans? Would you convict a white person for refusing to turn over their property? Okay. Laws are often passed that discriminate against or help people. For example, politically driven excuses are used to suppose how people gain their fortunes, right? Oh, it's because you're white. It's because you're privileged. Then a law is passed to tax them higher or lower depending on party affiliation. The masses quickly erode the rights of the gifted. The masses quickly erode the rights of the gifted individual, the hard worker, the guy who gets up at 0300 and goes to bed at maybe 2100 because he's so driven to support his family and his wife and kids so they don't have to be on welfare, so they don't have to be on food stamps. And he gives his life up and usually passes away many years before his wife and kids. And these are the types of people that the administrative state in California is targeting exactly. Now, personal injury lawyers have received favor in the tax code, for example. Hollywood has received exemptions from California's gun laws. So film studios can even use and own fully automatic weapons, but ordinary citizens may not. So that's political favor. Bill Clinton did that one for him. And it makes sense. After all, trial lawyers are enormous DC lobbyists. The studios also control the news and what is seen and heard thereon. But so is the insurance lobby and so forth. So all the sides benefit based upon who donates to whose reelection bid. And that's really what's going on, guys. Give me a bunch of ones if you know what I'm talking about. Now, is there fundamental unfairness to plaintiffs in personal injury cases? Some argue that insurance companies get a pass from courts in personal injury cases. Jury instructions make it clear that no one's allowed to mention insurance coverage that's at issue. I mean, obviously, as a juror, I would want to know if, I'll just kind of cut through this really quickly. I would want to know if the guy who is the defendant has insurance, because I'm not going to award a $20 million verdict against some dude if I don't think he can afford to pay it. Because as a juror, I don't want that guy to go to have his life destroyed, but that's just me. Now, if a defendant appears poor, a jury could be swayed into a finding against the plaintiff. And that's why they have this instruction that you're not allowed to know if the guy has insurance. Okay. They could award the aggrieved party no money at all if they don't think they have insurance. So how is it fair? Well, it's great for the insurance company and their shareholders. That's for sure. But it can kill the plaintiff's case. So for example, if I was on a jury, I would want to know how much insurance there was, blah, blah, blah. So we'll kind of get it. I want to just get through this because the videos are much better. Now, can I be punished for nullifying a verdict? Okay. The only example I could find that allows a judge or a prosecutor to potentially take vengeance on a juror is the Laura Creho matter. And in the Creho case, she was the sole juror and she refused to convict based upon the interests of justice. It was a drug-related case called People versus Brannon. People v. Brannon, Brannon. All right. And that is a case that took place in Colorado. Now, Creho was eventually charged with 3 counts of contempt of court. A whistleblowing fellow juror on the panel sent a secret communication to the Gilpin County District Court trial judge, Kenneth Barnhill. The communication alleged that Creho complained about the accused's unfair potential jail time while deliberating. So this sellout juror asked the court to bring alternate jurors in. But since all the alternates had been used up, a mistrial had to be declared. But the trial court was pissed and he wasn't done with Creho. It's not even close. So he wanted to send a message to the jury pool. You cannot nullify verdicts, even though, well, we'll get into it. So what were the contempt charges in Creho? Creho was eventually prosecuted for not volunteering, not for failing to volunteer. Information sought during voir dire, that's where we asked the jury questions to see if they're qualified. Creho silently reserved her right to nullify an unjust law. And so the court said, well, you should have volunteered that information. Ridiculous, right? Just absurd. So telling fellow jurors that her knowledge that potential punishment meant a conviction was likely wrongful. That was the other charge. And attempting to convince other jurors to cancel a charge that carried a criminal sentence against the defendant. And so literally prosecuted for that, guys. I mean, talk about police state. Many courts use this case to convince jurors that they may only decide matters of fact. However, an educated jurist knows that the situation would know that the second and third charges were ultimately withdrawn. In other words, the court did not rule on nullification. The court never ruled on nullification. Remember that. There was no punishment either. Okay. So anyways, it's amazing how you'll see these referees cite a case for what it doesn't stand for, the same way fact checkers will take a true article and take something out of context so they can say it's false and then declare that you're engaged in misinformation. This is precisely what Facebook and Instagram have been doing. Shame on you, Zuckerberg, for allowing this to happen in violation of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. You should be in prison as far as I'm concerned. Now, the remaining sole charge was reversed on appeal in Creho. Amazingly, Creho was convicted for failing to volunteer info, even though she was never asked to do. Clearly, that jury followed the law as stated by the court. The sole conviction on the remaining count was reversed. So the sole conviction in that case was reversed on appeal. Sound like Chili de Castro, right? So you got to spend your life savings to get justice. Absurd, sick, disgusting. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Hey, Michelle Henry, good seeing you. Now, the appeals court ruled rightly and thought it was absurd that a jury must read minds and volunteer. Accordingly, the FIJA reported, FIJA, you have to go back to the trial of William Penn in 1670 to find a case in which a judge tried to punish jurors for returning a verdict that he didn't like. 1670, that's in that case. Read the case, guys. Understand your rights, because you're not going to learn them from the administrative state. They want to keep you in the dark, and they want to suppress your speech and your ability to find information. Good luck trying to find this information on Google. It'll be buried on like page 1 million. So now, since the Creho case, I can find just one case in which a juror faced severe possibility of being punished for her verdict, and it's the 2005 prosecution of juror Carol Asher. In Asher, unlike Creho, there was a split jury, which resulted in a mistrial. The jury foreman ratted to the judge about Asher's comments during deliberations. Right? Another rat. Also, unlike Creho, three other jurors believed the defendant was not guilty. A little bit different. But only Asher was punished for felony perjury. So this is how they get you. So remember this. The judge will say, do you swear that you promise to uphold the facts and let me decide the law? And as soon as you swear in and say that, you have now basically silenced yourself. You have basically censored yourself, because if you do exercise your right of nullification, the judge will go after you for perjury. And unfortunately, that's how they do it, guys. That's the California model. Now, in that case, Asher was at risk for a 14-year prison term for lying. Are you kidding me? Politicians lie every day on TV. We heard Harris lie about not violating the Brady Law yesterday, where the judge released 1,000 of her accused defendants because she was hiding exculpatory evidence when she was the DA in California, in San Francisco, I think. So, I mean, they lie all the time. They lie all the time. And CNN and PMSNBC never calls them out because it's their candidate, because they're basically, the news media is the enemy of the American people. They're the propaganda wing of the DNC, as far as I'm concerned. Now, Asher never made it to trial. Instead, an evidentiary hearing was held in 2006, and the entire case went away. Asher learned the same lesson as Creho. You're going to go broke if you try and stand up for your rights. That's basically it. Now, there's another case, the Kleinman case. In that case, the criminally accused was the defendant. Now, in Kleinman, again, the trial court told the jury that it would violate the law if it ignored the trial court's interpretation of the law. But the left-leaning Ninth Circuit even agreed that this went too far, stating that the court's statement that the jury would violate its oath and the law if it willfully brought a verdict contrary to the law given to it, in this case, may imply punishment for nullification. And violate your oath above the law coming from the court in a criminal trial could be understood as a warning of a possible violation with the associated sanctions. Additionally, the statement that there is no such thing as a valid jury nullification could reasonably understood as telling the jurors that they do not have the power to nullify. And so it would be a useless exercise. Judges tell juries follow the law, but the same statement, there is no valid jury nullification, misstates the role of nullification. This is because an acquittal is valid even if it resulted from nullification. In other words, the Ninth Circuit is even saying that jury nullification is totally valid, guys. There's no problem. It's not an issue. But this was irrelevant for the judge to give this instruction, basically lying to the jury. The Ninth Circuit said it's irrelevant that the judge lied to the jury when a cop lies to you. Think about it. It's irrelevant that the judge lied to the jury and told them that they don't have the right to decide the law because it's no big deal because you're presumed to know the law. That was their finding. You're presumed to know the law. So you should have known better than listening to this judge who lied to you. That's basically what they found. Think about how absurd that is, guys. I mean, this is a panel of justices making this finding. I think that is a misapplication of the law. So anyways, as expected, the Ninth rejected Kleinman's argument of an erroneous jury instruction and that would require a reversal of his conviction. So this is the criminal defendant arguing, hey, going after this juror, it was wrong and I should get a new trial. And they're saying, no, it's harmless error because the jurors should have known the law anyways, even though the judge is telling them what the law is. Just crazy stuff. So this is the actual erroneous instruction. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. This is what the judge had told the jury on the bench. It is not fundamentally unfair for a defendant to be tried by a jury that is not fully informed of the power to nullify. The court said, or even that it is stripped of the power to nullify because there is no right to nullification. Although a jury should not be led to believe that jury nullification will result in punishment or an invalid acquittal, the court's misstatement by implication does not rise to the level of denial of Kleinman's due process rights. So, this is their finding. So this is their finding on the erroneous jury instruction. Sorry, guys, it's been a while since I wrote this. Now, so did you see that? The court is saying basically, yeah, you have a right to nullify, but if a trial court lies to you and you don't nullify, since you're presumed to know the law, it doesn't matter. So now here's the deal. If you want to remain on a jury and exercise the right of jury nullification, you could be in real trouble because if the judge makes you give an oath that you're only going to decide the facts, that's where you're going to get into trouble. So an automatic exclusion can occur if you're a member of like the ACLU or the Libertarian Party like me, or a member of a marijuana rights organization or an NRA member if it's a gun case, right? Because the court's going to assume you're going to nullify the law, especially if it's in communist California. So in an example of a wrongful death personal injury case, an anti-gun jury may decide, even though it was self-defense, because it could be a Soros, led prosecutor, the defendant must still pay for merely owning a gun because owning a gun is evil because somebody could get hurt, right? That's always their argument, right? So must I volunteer that I support jury nullification? Well, it depends. If you're an officer of the court who has written many treatises and articles supporting this right, it would make sense that you do not withhold this fact from the court. Don't fail to volunteer the information. So for me, I have to tell the court, I absolutely support and believe in jury nullification as a fundamental, unalienable right, Your Honor. And they're immediately going to kick me off the jury. So in the same way, a citizen who has touched on these issues online or on social sites probably want to volunteer this information because jurors are often subject to investigation by both sides, so they can find out and come after you later. So yes, respond to the question with a yes or no, I don't know type of way. Less is more. The court has many people to interview. Move along. So long as you have no religious views or philosophy preventing you from doing justice, you should be okay to serve. If you agree that everyone deserves a fair trial, regardless of the law, you should be okay with fitting the panel. Also, can you convict even if you disagree with a bad law? Yes, you can be capable of that. That's what they're going to ask you. But courts consider each separately. So after this, it makes sense to silence your opinions on nullification. But what about promises under oath? This is where it gets tricky. Like I said earlier, if you make a promise under oath, you're in trouble. So a promise, and this is how they get you, guys. This is how they get you to violate your rights. They literally get you to make a statement that enables them to violate your rights. So if you are forced to swear an oath that you can only judge the facts. What if a juror claims to let the court decipher the law? If a juror says he can uphold the law he disagrees with, he is not lying. But if he promises to the judge to judge the facts only when he intends to be the judge of both, he could be a perjurer. So did I swear an oath not to decide issues of law is going to be what the case hinges on, guys. If you're on a Los Angeles County jury, you may have surrendered your right to be the community's conscience when you swore to allow the court to be the sole decider of the law. Bottom line. And nullifying unconscionable laws could expose you to prosecution yourself. Okay. It's not because they exercise their rights per se. It's because they swore an oath not to use their freedom. That's all it is. You swore an oath not to use your freedom to exercise nullification. So is that valid or what? Well, as mentioned above, failure to use jury nullification was the international court's basis for convicting the accused Nazis in World War II, guys. So think about that. I mean, it's really a tough one, isn't it? When you have your own government basically trying to tell you to do the exact opposite of what we hung people for doing in World War II after the war. So it's pretty crazy. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that's nuts. So the court reasoned that civilians and soldiers must ignore, interpret, and fight against an unjust law. This was the Nuremberg trials. Hence, despite swearing an oath, low and high-level soldiers could not argue they were following orders when they killed innocent civilians and prisoners of war. So what other examples would you use nullification in a personal injury case? Well, you could probably use it for a medical malpractice claim, comparative negligence issues where a juror may not want to apportion fault, for example, or they may apportion more significant blame if they think it's unjust that a plaintiff gets too much money. And there are many times when you could use nullification. And the statutory rape laws, for example, that's another one, guys, where it's statutorily, if you engage in sexual activities with an underage minor, automatically, if you're older, you're going to jail, right? Well, the problem is, what if an underage female sexually assaults an adult male and he faces rape charges? Would it be unjust to apply the law? Well, there's actually a case that says it would be unjust. State versus Morse, 281, Minnesota, 378, 161, NW, 2nd, 699. It's a 1968 case. Now, I'd have to shepherdize it. I don't know if it's good law anymore. It probably is. And of course, gun laws are a big one. A man in California was arrested for having a cartridge magazine in his pistol with more than 10 rounds in the magazine. Unjust as a magazine is a primary component of a firearm. And most firearms come with more than 10 rounds because you're going to need more, especially if you're not a good shooter like me, right? You're going to want to have as many rounds in that magazine as you can possibly have for many reasons. One is to suppress, and the other is to get away. If you're not an accurate shot, at least you can suppress with suppressing fire your target, and you can start doing bounding maneuvers to try and get away from your assailant. You guys got to start thinking. Now, the number of rounds in a magazine directly affects a citizen's ability to defend the home and hearth. It says hearth. I got to fix that, guys. And then, of course, race laws. Frederick Douglass and other white abolitionists were fierce supporters of jury nullification and armed citizenry. So especially, like, I believe that people in the Black community should absolutely understand jury nullification, especially with all the false arrests that are made in their community all the time. So euthanasia laws, where a terminally ill patient wanted mercy killing, prosecutors have no choice but to bring the charges against the doctor. Marijuana laws, prohibition laws. There's some other famous explanations. I don't want to get into too many more of this. You guys can read the article, go to the description of my video and put it in. Now, what I'm going to do now is show you the next cool video that I have. And this is Chile de Castro. And hopefully you guys are all still with me. I know it's been around. I know you guys have been with me for a while now. It's already been like, gosh, an hour and 9 minutes. This time goes by. I'm getting burned out. Woo! All right. So, hey, what's going on, Brett Ray? Good seeing you. Time for a tea party. I've got end qualified immunity, maritime law. Love it. I love it that you said that. I've got Scrubzilla saying if you can shoot 30 bullets per minute and you have 60 rounds, you are in the fight for 2 minutes and you run out of ammo. That's right. And when you're super stressed and you're not well trained like me, like I do CQB training at least once every month, you're going to be so full of adrenaline. Your heart's going to be beating. You're going to be running. You're going to be bounding. You're going to be under so much pressure. Your blood's going to be pumping. It's really hard to get off accurate shots. You may not be capable of dropping a mag and reloading, and you may not even have an extra mag on your coffee table next to your bed. That one magazine may be all you have. Give me a bunch of ones. If you understand, if you've ever been in the military or you've had to like do the sprints and then pick up your rifle and try to shoot something, it's almost impossible to hit your target unless you're using 3-round burst. I mean, the stress of a simulated combat situation, it's really hard to get around off. So unless you're doing CQB training regularly, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to want to have those extra rounds. And that's another reason why I would flee California. Their crazy laws where they protect criminals at the expense of the law-abiding who just want to protect their families. It's insane, guys. Just flee. You know, why would you want to have kids there anyways? Why would you want your enemy to be teaching your kids? Malcolm X. All right, so let's go ahead and get into Chili's false arrest, and then I'm going to get into the 10th Amendment video. And here we go.
If Las Vegas Metro Police Department or Henderson Police Department or Summerlin Police Department, if their policy is that you have to go in torture cuffs if they say you're detained. So this guy says that I'm detained. He just decides that I've broken some magical law and then says I'm detained for what? I explained who I was. I'm a member of the press. I'm a constitutional law scholar. I'm just doing my job. Now do yours. And when I said that to him, he then attacked me. And I'll show you the rest of that right here. Y'all fucking business. Mind your own business. I'm a member of the press. Go get in your car and do your job, little doggy. Right there, he was offended. Go see her. You're being detained right now. Okay, then detain me. You're being sued right now. You're being sued, bro.
Give me a bunch of ones for Chili, guys.
You're gonna detain a journalist? 2015, Rodriguez. Don't put your hands on me. Don't touch me. Don't put your fucking hands on me. So right here, he's trying to attack me. He expects for me to just bow down and let him do any kind of, and this is, I could have slammed him on the back of his noggin. His brains could have came out of his mouth and I would be justified. I could have killed him. And then, just so you know, he grabs me. I'm shorter than him. I have lower center of gravity. I'm a wrestler for 30 years. I could have slammed him on his fucking head. He was so out of position. He's going to grab me right here, and it looks like he's doing something tough. I'm holding him with one arm. With one arm. I've got him with one arm, just like this. Holding him with one arm, just like that. The man had zero power. None. Then I calmly placed my phone on top of his car. So watch. You'll see. He has no power. No, you're not. I gotta make sure. Hey guys, make sure you guys get my people on the phone. I have an obstructing male here. What's my core criminal conduct? Was filming you. Look what a butthurt pig this is. Oh, this is so you ended the stop, you dunce cap. Did you just end the stop? So that's yes. 2015. So right here now, he has seen cops coming from around the corner. He's seen other cops coming. So the other cop cars are coming in with their lights on. He sees them coming, and now he gets tough. 15. Over here in my car. No. Over here. No. In addition. Bring your supervisor, please. Bring your supervisor, please. Don't touch me. To the car. You don't get to put your hands on me. Don't grab me. Don't grab me. You're not. First get your supervisor out here. I hadn't shown him any sort of physical aggression. I only look at his face. What a Neanderthal. You're so screwed, bro. You're so screwed. You're not just going to grab me and throw me on the ground. No, I'm not just going to let him grab me and put me in torture cuffs. Remember I said to resist? This is what I mean. Make them show what tyrant pigs they are. You've already released them. You've already released her. This is 2015, Rodriguez versus United States. I'll walk right in front of your car. Let's go. Sure, come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. Now he's waiting for other cops to arrive so that he can try to grab me. And the other cops all want to grab me. The 3 cops will grab me. No. I'm a constitutional law scholar. He tells me to put down my camera. There you go. No. I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can't take away my phone.
You're being detained. Please. Now you're going to put hands on me.
No.
Come over here.
Why are you grabbing me?
Come over here.
Sure.
Over here.
Okay, so
I don't care about the
he wasn't putting hands on the officer. Okay, that is a lie, and typically this is a pretext that officers will use to effectuate an arrest. So hopefully, I just want you guys to understand that it's very common
Why are you grabbing
Turn
me?
around.
I'm a
Turn
member of
around.
the press.
Turn around.
I'm not doing anything.
Right
Now,
here.
just have watch me. 2015, Rodriguez.
Over my car.
Don't put your hands on me.
Come over.
Don't touch me. Don't put your fucking hands on me. No, you're not. I gotta make sure. Hey guys, make sure you guys get my people on the phone. Oh, this is so you ended the stop, you dunce cap. Did you just end the stop? So that's
Yes.
a 2015.
Come over here to my car.
No.
Come over here.
No.
Need an additional unit.
Bring your supervisor, please. Bring your supervisor, please. Don't touch
Over
me.
to the car.
You don't get to put your hands on me. Don't grab me. Don't grab me. I mean, look at the look on his face. Just look at the look on his face. Look how mad he is that he doesn't get to control my every motion, my every. You're not. First get your supervisor out here. You're not just going to grab me and throw me on the ground. You've already released. You've already released her. This is 2015, Rodriguez versus United States. I'll walk right in front of your car. Let's go. Sure, come on. Come on. Come on.
You need to set the phone
There you
down.
go. Okay, now watch. He's gonna try to grab me, and there's no reason to grab me. I haven't broken a law, so it's an he's giving me unlawful orders, and he's unlawfully detaining me. No. He told me to put my camera down. I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can't take away
Set
my
the
phone.
down on the hood.
I'm now in
You're being detained.
See, okay, you see the other cop car pulling in? I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can't take away. There's the other way. My
Set the phone down.
right there. You see the other cop car coming in? Now is when he's going to get super tough, but he's actually a giant pussy. I have not ever had a full-grown man grab me with such weakness. I'm now in
You're being detained.
Okay, now he puts his hand on me right there. Do you see that? He puts his hand on me. I don't initiate contact with this person.
He lied.
Now you're going to put hands on me.
No.
Come over
Okay, he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no idea what he's doing.
here.
Why? Look, he pushed my shoulder and left his legs wide open. What an idiot. He only did it because there was other coppers running up, because I could have slammed him on his noodle right here. So right there, I'm under him still. He's still above my shoulders. You dunce cap. You could have see the light in the back of his head? That's where the blood would have dripped out and his brains would have fallen out had I decided to be violent. I decided not to be violent. Why are you that? He's out of position. Grabbing me. I'm still beneath him. I'm still underneath of him. I still have underhooks.
Come over here.
He doesn't have any position on me. I'm literally putting myself where I want to put myself. Sure. You see that? I'm controlling the man with one arm entirely. He has no power. Sure. Now he's trying to take my camera out of my hand, so there's no transparency.
That's right.
I don't let him do it.
That's all he's trying to do.
Now I lightly keep him off of me as I set the camera down on the car. And then I face him as two other cops run up and grab me, and one has a taser.
Over here. I don't care about the phone.
Why are you grabbing
Turn
me?
around.
I'm a
Turn
member
around.
of the press.
Turn around.
I'm not doing anything.
You're being detained.
I'm not
now.
doing
Turn
anything.
around.
Keep your
Stop. Let's do it.
Are your cameras on? Are your cameras on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, then
Put
don't
your hands
put me
behind
in-
your back.
No.
You're going in handcuffs.
Why?
Put your hands behind your back.
Can we slow down? Get supervisor. I haven't done anything
No,
wrong.
put your hands
I
behind your
haven't
back.
done anything wrong.
Don't make
If you want to
me.
detain me, then
I am
don't
putting-
make me what, Bork? Don't make me what? You're lucky, buddy. You're lucky. You are lucky, you pussy. You are lucky. There's two other guys there with weapons. You were out of position. I could have put you on your fucking head, bro. I could have cracked your skull open.
Putting you in handcuffs.
But I'm not
Facing the hood.
I'm
Turn around. It's not policy to put it behind. It has to be behind your back. Right now, you're going to get a ticket. If you do not put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail. Put your hands behind your back. Do it now.
So do you hear that? Right now you're getting a ticket, but if you don't put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail. Well, then he's got two cops, one on each arm, and the other guy's got his taser. So they tell me they're going to tase me if I don't put my arms behind my back. I say, put him in front. They say, no, put him behind. I say, I can't. I got a bone spur here and a torn cuff here. And then they say, put double cuffs on him. So they put two cuffs on, but that's not where the torture begins. Let me show you where they start to literally, and I'll show you the torture marks where they tortured me.
No, I don't know if you have any weapons.
That's the training right there. That's the training. That's the training right there. You can't basically assess a person. And if the regular Joe is going to pull out a gun and kill you, copper, you're not going to stop him. He's going to kill you, and he wouldn't have walked up with his camera.
That's
if a
true.
regular Joe, I look like a regular Joe,
So, for those of you just joining us, so Chili is a cop watcher. He's a First Amendment auditor, activist, and he films traffic stops. And he was filming this stop, and this cop got upset and made a false arrest against him. And Chili's pissed because he did 4 months. So I just want you to understand the context. He's cussing and swearing and looking like that because he's furious. 4 months of his life were lost. And he ultimately got his case reversed on appeal. So here he is now talking about what led up to him being falsely arrested and thrown in jail. And then I'm going to get into jury nullification once we finish this little section here, so you guys can understand a little bit more about how this works.
Old dude, middle-class guy. If I wanted to kill the coppers, I wouldn't have walked up with my camera running.
Right.
And then this same piece of crap cop, you're getting sued, bro. I gave you every opportunity. We had long talks in the car that I'll get that body cam footage and I'll let you all hear it. I could have destroyed this man. He was so out of position, so out of position. I don't believe in violence. It's the wrong way. Hurting people, hurt people only hurt more people.
That's true.
And now this guy, but he's not, this guy is not going to be the guy who gets fired. He's going to get reprimanded. The other guy's going to get fired, and I'll show you exactly what he did to me.
Around. For option A.
The camera's still running, guys. The camera's still running.
I don't care.
Your car, like
I don't care. I don't
I'm
care
facing
about
your
the
car.
camera. Put your hand behind your back. Do not reach his phone.
Thank you. Put your hand behind your back. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so
Please don't put those tires.
So ultimately what happened here is Chili was falsely arrested. That's basically, that was it. And he did not get a trial by jury in this particular case. He did win his case on appeal, but it was Judge Ann Zimmerman of Nevada Superior Court, I think, or Justice Court. Can't remember. Or district court. It's different than California. I'm not a Nevada lawyer. And he ended up doing 4 months in a pretty tough place. And that's why he's so angry. So, forgive him for losing his temper, guys. I mean, I handle things a little bit differently. My background's in judo. He's a wrestler. So I understand, all of the warrior stuff that he's talking about being under him and underhooks and all that stuff totally makes sense. And yeah, I believe that Chili could have slammed him. I know Chili, and the dude's built like a freaking tank. And he's quick and he's agile, and you can tell that he definitely can handle himself. That officer was terrified. You could see that. Hey, thanks, Jeff. All right, man. Thank you, Jeff. I got a $2 super chat. Everybody make sure to like and subscribe to Jeff's channel and give him a bunch of ones for me. So I just wanted to do that little intro to show you that, look, police officers will come up with any excuse they can to get that caller, to get that arrest. And if you end up, like in this case, he had a judge, unfortunately, and I don't know how he ended up just with a judge. I think it's because it was a misdemeanor that involved less than a certain amount of time. And I think in Nevada, that gives the court the ability to not allow you to have a jury. I think that's what it was. I've never really asked him. It just never came to mind, but his case was reversed on appeal. But he had to spend, I think, like $30,000 on an appellate lawyer on a misdemeanor charge. And most people that get falsely arrested don't have $30,000 to spend on a top appellate lawyer. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. And so officers know, and the law enforcement, the administrative state knows, if they go after poor people, that they'll be able to get this jail time on people. And the prison industrial complex gets rich, and those prison guards make money. Everybody makes money. The private prisons make money, or the public prisons, they all make money. But guys like Chili lose everything, because when you get locked up, he makes his living from YouTube and from doing videos and stuff. So he lost pretty much everything. I tried to help him with his channel, but I'm not him. So the channel languished for 4 months. But between Brian and I, here's the deal. We did help him. And so it was a pretty big deal. What happened to him. And so absolutely, he has the right to be pissed off and be angry. So I want to give context to that, so you don't just think he's just some guy who's angry for no reason. He has the right to be angry. But now I have permission from this gentleman over at the 10th Amendment Foundation to show this video. And because this is about jury nullification. So just to recap, I've shown you a couple examples of a false arrest where a jury may be instructed by the judge that they can only decide the facts of the case, and the judge gets to decide the law, right? And then I've shown you the exceptions in criminal cases where people have, nullified cases, and of course they got busted for exercising their rights, and ultimately they got their cases reversed, like Chile did. But again, they had to face a lot of punishment and torture. So I'm trying to critically educate you guys to understand the consequences of trying to uphold your unalienable rights. So let's get into this video now, and you can learn from the 10th Amendment Foundation. What an amazing video. I'm going to drop the link as well for you guys. What an amazing video. Let's check it out.
Trial by jury. Thomas Jefferson called it the only anchor ever yet imagined by man that can actually hold a government to the principles of its constitution. And jury nullification is how you get it done, which is probably why the government doesn't want you to know about it, doesn't want you to learn about it, doesn't want you to use it ever. So on this episode, I've got a bunch of info on jury trials, on trial by jury, actually, which we'll learn about, and jury nullification from the founders and the old revolutionaries, plus the best essay, I think, ever written on this, which was written by Lysander Spooner. And we're going to break down what it is, the history behind it, how it works, and I think you'll see why jury nullification matters today more than ever. But first of all, before getting to that, welcome and thank you for joining me here on the Path to Liberty. My name is Michael Bolden with the 10th Amendment Center, and this is the show for Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Hope you're having a good day so far. Let's get right to it. And we want to start out with FIJA, Fully Informed Jury Association, with this page, What is Jury Nullification? A quick introduction to what it is. And they write, in its strictest sense, jury nullification occurs when a jury returns a not guilty verdict, even though jurors believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant has broken the law. So even though they all say, well, yeah, okay, the facts of the case say, well, the law was broken, but we're still going to render a verdict of not guilty, basically nullifying the law in practice and effect and setting the person free despite breaking that law. And they say, because the not guilty verdict cannot be overturned, and because the jurors cannot be punished for their verdict, and we're going to get into the history behind that as well, going to the 17th century, the law is said to be nullified in that particular case. Really important stuff, a very powerful tool. Thomas Jefferson, again, called it the only anchor that humankind has ever invented that can keep a government to its principles of its constitution. Going further, they have another version of jury nullification. They say, in what can be said to be a milder form of jury nullification, some of the jurors, or even just one in most cases, can hang the jury by maintaining a not guilty verdict, even though they believe the defendant broke the law.
That's right.
If the jury cannot unanimously agree on a verdict of either guilty or not guilty, this is known as a hung jury. When further deliberation clearly will be unproductive, the judge might declare or will declare a mistrial. The prosecution may or may not retry the case in the future, but the law has at least been nullified in the trial at hand. So it's been at least temporarily nullified. And then another jury could do the same and make it permanent as well.
But that's in the case of, that's a mistrial, right? So there's really no way to know if it was nullification if there's a holdout juror, right? So let's keep going.
And this is a long tradition in American history and much earlier as well. And we can start out here with John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the United States. Here he is in the case of the state of Georgia.
By the way, John Jay also didn't go to a law school. I think all of our Supreme Court justices originally, they were on a law study type program where you would learn through the Inns of Court. That's how you became a lawyer, or you would work as a law clerk, and then you would be sworn in. You would stand before the bar and take an oath. You would go undergo an oral examination, typically by a judge. So this whole law school thing where you sit in a classroom and learn from someone who typically has never practiced law at all, they're just a law professor, right? That's a new invention. And in my opinion, it's designed to create people who put the state first as opposed to the people.
Georgia versus, I believe, Brailsford. This is 1794, and he's got this section, this charge to the jury, where he explains that they can actually choose to vote not guilty, even if they think they the person broke the law. It may not be amiss here, gentlemen, to remind you of the good old rule that on questions of fact, it is the province of the jury. On questions of law, it is the province of the court to decide. But there's more. There's a caveat here. He said, but it must be observed that by the same law which recognizes this reasonable distribution of jurisdiction, you have nevertheless a right to take upon yourselves to judge of both and to determine the law as well as the fact in controversy.
What do you guys
so you're
think of
not
that?
only just
So John Jay, what an amazing justice. The jury has a right to judge both the law as well as the fact in controversy. Think about that. Our first Supreme Court justice. So who do you believe more? A modern referee with the black robe in an LA Superior Court, or the first Supreme Court justice? What do you think, guys? Give me a bunch of ones if you believe a modern judge, or do you think that the original Supreme Court was more on point? Give me a bunch of ones if you think that the original Supreme Court is more on point. Give me a bunch of twos if you think a modern Superior Court judge is more on point.
judging the facts of the case on a jury. You are actually judging the law, whether it should even exist. And that's what makes it so powerful. John Jay continues with this. He said, on the one hand, it is presumed that juries are the best judges of facts. It is, on the other hand, presumable that the court are the best judges of the law. But still, both objects are lawfully within your power of decision. So, to me, we could just wrap it up with that, really.
Yeah, but I'll let him talk, but I'll just give you my rendition. Sure. The court is in a better position. He's better educated to tell you what the law is. But don't insult my intelligence. We, the people, are the ultimate arbiters of truth and falsity, and whether we want to uphold the law that we deem as unjust. You understand? You guys getting this so far? Okay.
Because ultimately, when it comes to the law and the Constitution and the structure of the Constitution, the first Chief Justice, John Jay, knows way more, or knew way more about the Constitution than anyone alive today. I don't care what they happen to say about it. They know more than you, than me, than all of us. And so John Jay was kind of a go-to guy on.
And by the way, modernly, religious people would refer to that as hermeneutics. Hermeneutics, Hermeneutics. And basically, that's the study of history in understanding terminology and the culture, the past, when it started. So you have modern people, Marxists in particular, who want to reinterpret gun laws and say that, this doesn't apply because modernly it means this. But that's more of a European sort of concept where you have a living constitution. Our politicians and our government is supposed to be bound by the chains of the Constitution and what it meant at the time that it was created. And so you would use a hermeneutic interpretation to understand what terms meant and what the culture was at the time of the founding documents. And our politicians are supposed to be bound by the chains of the Constitution. And we are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic where the rights of the individual are the most important, because you can never uphold the rights of a minority if you refuse to uphold the rights of the individual. And that's how our founders thought. And I have so many quotes that I can show you from our founders that they thought democracy was destructive and that no democracy would ever last because it's a self-destructive mentality where the majority can decide. Basically, two wolves and a sheep show up for dinner and decide what's on the menu. That's democracy. Two wolves and a sheep show up for dinner and decide what's on the menu. In a republic, two wolves and a well-armed sheep shows up for dinner and decides what's on the menu. Give me a bunch of ones if you understand the difference between a democracy and a republic and what it meant at the time of the founding of the Constitution. I don't care what some Marxist college professor tells you today in 2024, because that's them trying to pretend like we're Europe. and that we have a living constitution where the words mean different things than they do now, because that's not what this country meant. That's absolutely not what the Second or First Amendment meant. So let's let him talk, though, because I really like this guy. Great video
on this. But Thomas Jefferson also considered this very important. And in his notes on the state of Virginia, 1781 to 82-ish, depending on what part you're reading, he said, these magistrates have jurisdiction both criminal and civil. If the question before them be a question of law only, they decide on it themselves. But if it be of fact or of fact and law combined, it must be referred to a jury. In the latter case.
So there you hear our founders, the people in the best possible position to decide what nullification meant, telling you that absolutely a jury has the right, and not only the right, but the duty to decide the law and the facts. And of course, the administrative state does not want jurors deciding the law. They would get far less convictions, and they would bring far less money in to the purses of the administrative state and the municipalities, because that's really what it's all about, guys. It's about raising revenue. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that.
Of a combination of law and facts. So the law itself, you're judging the law, just like John Jay said years later, or you're judging the facts of the case. He said it's usual for the jurors to decide the fact and to refer the law arising on it to the decisions of the judges. But this division of the subject lies with their discretion only. So it is just up to the jury to decide if the jury wants to judge the law as well as the facts of the case. And no one can give them instructions on whether or not they're allowed to do so or not. Well, they may try to, but the jury has the right to do what it wants. And if the question, Jefferson writes, relate to any point of public liberty, or if it be one of those in which the judges may be suspected of bias, the jury undertake to decide both law and fact. And in the Philadelphia Convention, what we often call the Constitutional Convention in 1787.
A lot of people don't understand that. Remember, our original seat of government was Philadelphia, Independence Hall. It was changed later to D.C. There's so many things I want to share with you guys. I wish I had more time. But anyways, you can see based on what he's saying and based on what he's reading from history is that, yes, from the inception of our great republic, the jury has always had within its power to decide both the law and the facts. There you go. Let's keep listening.
Elbridge Gerry, we often call him Jerry because of gerrymandering, but his real name was pronounced Elbridge Gerry. I learned in the last couple of years. He gave a great.
So did you guys hear that? Gerrymandering literally comes from this guy. And look at the comment. Juries are necessary to guard against corrupt judges. Repeat after me. Juries are necessary to guard against corrupt judges. Remember, our founding fathers had no trust for the administrative state. They were the king's men. And the king, despite having the Magna Carta and all these laws in place to protect the citizenry, still violated their rights all the time. This is amazing stuff, guys. You're not going to hear information like this anywhere else in the world except on my channel and the 10th Amendment channel. This is amazing information. I really want you guys to think about sharing this with your friends and your family. This is important information. Let's keep listening.
Reason overall why the founding generation considered this tool to be so important. We see a little bit of that from Thomas Jefferson as well. But Gerry said, juries are necessary to guard against corrupt judges. I would also add, they are necessary to guard against corrupt, unconstitutional, immoral, unjust laws as well.
Amen.
But this is an important part of this tool. William Findley in the Pennsylvania Ratifying Convention, this is December of 1787, pointed out that when Sweden actually stopped using the trial by jury, the people lost their freedom because this was such a powerful tool. And here from the notes on this, or a report on it, Mr. Findley observed that when the trial by jury, which was known in Sweden so late as the middle of the last century, fell into disuse. I don't believe, because I don't know the history of that super well. And there was actually some debate on this in the Pennsylvania.
Well, I'm actually a Swede and I know a little bit about this history, and we'll get into this in another one of my videos, but it's pretty, just listen to what he's got to say because he nails it.
Ratifying Convention as well, December of 1787. My understanding is that they just stopped using it, not that it was banned, but when it fell into disuse, he said, the commons of that nation lost their freedom and a tyrannical aristocracy prevailed. So Finley was an anti-federalist, but many of the founding generation recognized that without the trial by jury, because of this power to judge the law and the fact, what we call today jury nullification, when that's gone, government can just get out of control, because this is the last line of defense of a peaceful response to usurpations of power. Now, the response from James Wilson, and I forget the name of the guy, the chief justice of the Pennsylvania High Court or Supreme Court, they basically said, this guy Findley, you know, he's just some farmer. He doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Sweden never even had the trial by jury. And Finley was pretty upset. And so the next day he brought evidence that said, like, look, why am I the guy having to point out to these people who are supposed to be the top legal minds that this was the case? So this is an important piece of that history as well. We also see trial by jury in the Declaration of Independence as well. It is one of the grievances, the injuries and usurpations, abuses of power by the British for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. And that was a similar grievance to what was listed in the Virginia Constitution, which was approved on June 29th, 1776, drafted primarily by George Mason and a few others, but really important stuff. It's cool to see out in the chat. I'm going to get back to you guys in a moment. Someone with a screen name, Lysander Spooner, saying, I approve this message. We're going to get a lot into Spooner here after the middle part of the show as well. Clay S. Conrad, who wrote probably one of the best books on jury nullification, has an interesting post from many years ago on a trial by jury over at the Cato Institute. And you can learn pretty quickly reading through this that it wasn't the founders who actually invented all of this. It was a big part of their long-standing legal tradition.
That's right. That's what I've been trying to tell you guys, is that, see, our founders considered themselves to be basically freed Englishmen because they wanted to be loyal to their king. But the king continually usurped the rights that had already been recognized by the king in documents like the Magna Carta. And he was basically saying, since they're colonials, they're not entitled to full representation in parliament. So all these crazy laws are kind of like what's going on in DC right now, where they're trying to take away your right to keep and bear arms. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Jeff gave me a super sticker. Everybody give Jeff a bunch of ones for the super sticker. $5. Thank you, brother. That'll go a long way. I'll be honest with you guys. That may not seem like a lot to some people, but to me, it means a lot to me because it shows me that you appreciate me. And so even if it's 50 cents, I don't care. I mean, honestly, you know, it would mean more to me if you got the digital version of my ebook, not this soft cover, but the digital version, which you can get on my YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel page at Michael Ehline and click on the description and open it up, there's a link to PayPal. It's $19.99. And I talk about how I became a lawyer with no law degree. Prior to completing law school, I was a practicing attorney, and I went to law school at night after I was already a barred practicing attorney, just so I could get my JD, because I knew that there's a lot of a-holes out there say, oh, you didn't go to law school, you don't know anything. But I had already tried 3 cases to the jury as a certified law student. Prior to being barred, I became a sworn member of the bar. I was sworn in by Justice Gary Hastings in chambers with my mother and my father there. And it was one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had in my life. And several of my dear friends who I had done law clerking for were there with me. And I'll share some of those pictures with you guys someday. But this is an appellate justice that I clerked for, and I was the very first appellate law office study program member in California to clerk for an appellate justice, and it was an amazing experience. So, guys, it's the journey. It's not the destination. I'm telling you guys, it's the journey. What I was able to achieve, and I'm not a braggart, it was a Herculean task for me, and it was amazing. Being a disabled Marine, not having any formal education to be able to work my way up into becoming a top lawyer with over $150 million in verdicts and settlements was an amazing and monumental task for me. And so this book it sort of takes you on my journey of how I did it. I'd sold my limousine business. I was Rodney Dangerfield's limousine driver. He was a famous comedian. And I sold my limousine business, and I slept on park benches, and I lived at the Yes Center in Venice Beach, this crazy place where homeless people live, so I could save my money and study all the time in a law office. And I studied under several different lawyers, and a judge, and at the prosecutor's office. Ultimately, my dear friend, who I just love so much, he's the godfather to my kids, who signed for me. He was former Army. And when I came into the LA City Attorney's office, because he'd seen my resume, he said, "You were a Marine?" And that was it. Like, I was hired, and that was the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. And so my book talks about how I did that. So, and I also see I got another one. Oh my gosh, Candy. Thank you so much, Candy. Candy gave me a super sticker. And Candy, I don't even know you. So that means a lot to me that you hooked me up with a super sticker. But yeah, if you guys want to learn, it would really be helpful if you got my book too, because instead of just giving money to YouTube, you could have something tangible that you could share with your friends or your family or your kids. And I also talk about the other states that offer similar programs where you can become a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, or I think you have to have like some training in some of the other states. But the California program was most like what was being done in the Inns of Court. And in one of my other videos, I talk about how the Knights Templars were actually housed the first law schools. Basically, they weren't really law schools, but the inns, which were the Temple Inn, was finally formed later. But it started with the Knights Templar with the English common law. But let me try to finish as much of this video as I can. I can see that I'm losing audience. I hope I'm not boring you guys too much, but let's get into this video. We'll try to go another 10 minutes, and we'll do another show where we finish this up. Okay. Cause I'm getting pretty burned out. And I'm sure you are too.
And their customs to have a jury be able to judge both the law and the fact. And Conrad put it like this: British courts guaranteed the independence of criminal trial juries in 1670.
Thanks, Michelle.
In a case concerning 4 jurors who had acquitted William Penn for illegally preaching about his Quaker beliefs. So, I mean, you get so many levels of government oppression on this. 1, government trying to stop people from having freedom of speech. 2, government trying to stop people from having freedom of religion. And 3, government trying to stop people from being able to exercise their judgment on a jury, on a trial by jury. And so those jurors, he writes, were imprisoned for their not guilty verdict, because they had ignored the trial judge's instructions to vote for Penn's conviction. An English appellate court released the jurors from prison, establishing the principle that juries cannot be punished for bringing in the so-called wrong verdict. I like that Conrad put wrong in scare quotes, because when the jury makes a decision, it isn't wrong. We may disagree with it, but
right.
Their decision is supposed to be final. The freedom, he writes, of American jurors to vote according to conscience can be traced to that landmark precedent. So this was a huge part. Everyone understood what this was all about. And Blackstone talked about this as well, because from my understanding,
Now, all of our founding fathers, before there were law schools, Blackstone's commentaries on the English law are what they read from. And I studied Blackstone's commentaries. And I got to tell you guys, if you guys really want to learn about English common law and how it transformed into American common law for us, I recommend all of you pick up a copy of Blackstone's commentaries on the English law. It is one of the most amazing essays that you'll ever see in your life. Let's keep going.
By jury was also included in the English Bill of Rights in 1689, maybe not as expressly as some would have liked, but here's how Blackstone put it later. The glory of English law. This was written around 1765 or so, around the time of the Stamp Act. The trial by jury ever has been, and I trust ever will be, looked upon as the glory of the English law. Now, the reason that trial by jury is so important is not just because it is a jury of peers being able to say someone from the neighborhood is guilty or innocent. It's because this is a tool that can actually keep government in check. And of course, they never teach us about that latter part of it. And as I was going through my notes on this, I think this was just published yesterday by Brittany Hunter, who has done awesome work over the years. She now works over at Pacific Legal Foundation. I think she used to write for fee.org and a few
She's
other places
amazing.
as well. Brittany, really awesome article
She
on this. This will be linked to in the
Absolutely.
show notes. I'll mention that again in just a minute as well. And so she actually talked about some of the history in colonial America. In 1733, she writes, Governor William Cosby, the British colonial governor of New York, took legal action against the printer and journalist John Peter Zenger. This is a name that actually comes up even in the ratification debates. They name Zenger, they name 1735 as an important turning point. Zenger's paper, she writes, had printed articles of satirical materials. Muckraking was a big deal back in the 18th century. They used to really hammer on people.
So something recently, this brings up a point. So Gavin Newsom, the dictator of California, the single party state, who just recently made it illegal to be able to check IDs to make sure people who are voting are citizens. Literally, there's a law that he just put on the book saying that. He also had signed this other law that had to do with deep fakes, that you're not allowed to do satirical deep fakes. That's a violation in his mind. Well, that was stricken down by an appellate court, thank God, or the district court. I'm not sure which one it was, but I'll go into a show on that. But you can see that people on the left are doing everything they can to silence you if you disagree with the administrative state. And it's like history repeating itself. This is in 1733. The same kind of thing happens. A governor is pissed off because people are doing memes about him. And the memes were a really big deal back then, making fun of people. And, you know, it's just crazy with the public school system not teaching history and instead just teaching like this canned Marxism but it's based on race instead of money. The kids are just totally deprived of their brilliant and glorious history. And so if you do have kids or family members who are young, I encourage you to share this video with them so they can learn about what's going on, because history is repeating itself right before our eyes. Listen to what he's got to say about journalist John Peter Zenger and a paper that he had printed, articles with satirical materials criticizing this governor, who then accused him of seditious acts. It's just the same stuff's happening right now.
But he published satirical materials criticizing the governor, with the latter accusing him of seditious libel. Again, this is about freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Without freedom of speech, what can you do to challenge and spread awareness about what government does? That's why we have to think about this in much broader terms than just the jury as well, because we can see why this tool is being used. Cosby, she writes, became irate after 2 grand juries refused to indict Zenger. Cosby then used a tactic called information to have Zenger tried in front of the New York Supreme Court, which he was in control of. But yet, and much to his dismay, the jury found Zenger not guilty. Now, there was a publication that I think Zenger did, the narrative of the trial. Benjamin Franklin in 1736 published this, and there were a lot of copies sold. I don't know the number, but the case was widely known, this tool, this trial by jury. And so as you get into the years early part of the American Revolution leading up to the War for Independence, everyone understood that this was a tool that was keeping these colonial governors, these British governors, in check. It was widely known how things went down. And I've actually seen a lot of places, if you do some searching on this, you'll see a lot of places citing a quote from Governor, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I've often had it different ways. I've done some research. The penman of the Constitution, the guy who drafted the preamble to the Constitution, Governor Morris. He said that the trial contained the germ of American freedom, the beginning of the American Revolution. I've not been able to find the original source on that yet. So if anyone else does, please leave it in the comments or send me an email over at team@10thamendmentcenter.com. And while I'm here, I should reiterate that all of these source documents, these articles that I'm mentioning, etc., they will all be linked to in a single blog post for this episode, just like we publish for every single episode. That'll be over at 10thamendmentcenter.com/Pat.
Make sure to support his channel. Look, I know that I'm not getting like 1 million views today because this isn't somebody getting slammed on the ground by a cop. It's not like violent or sexy or whatever, but this right here this show that I'm doing is probably the single most important show that I've ever done. And this is something that you should be sharing with all of your friends, with all of your family members. You should be making shorts about this and videos about this. This is the absolute most important aspect of our country and our founding, is that the jury has the right to decide not just the facts of a case, but the law as well. So let's just keep watching.
Path to liberty. Alan Mosley does such awesome work, so consistent on doing this. I'm very grateful for him taking this off my plate. It saves me some time every Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I'm on schedule. He gets that organized with a show link section, plus all the different platforms are on. Of course, we live stream on the mainstream ones like X and YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and LinkedIn and elsewhere. We also live stream at odyssey.com and rumble.com in case you're looking for another platform to check us out on rather than one of the mainstream ones. And we have the audio only podcast edition all over the place. So Alan will get that organized and I will get it published over at 10thamendmentcenter.com/.
And he's promised that he may entertain the idea of coming on as a guest. So give me a bunch of ones if you'd like to have him come on as a guest, because I'm going to share this with him so he sees that I was serious about doing an attorney reaction. I think that this guy, the way he's able to recite names, places, and dates without even looking at a prompter, I can tell most of the stuff he's saying is memorized. I can tell because I have that kind of memory where I can remember case law and stuff without looking at something. And I see that he's just like looking around, just he knows what he's talking about. This dude is a freaking American treasure. This guy right here is a national treasure, and he should be looked up to as one of the greatest Americans that I've ever met, ever on the internet. This guy is amazing.
Path to liberty a couple of hours after this live stream is done. And while I'm here, I want to take a quick moment to say hello to everyone out in the live chat. Again, I appreciate you being here. Whether this is your first episode or you've been here for every single one since day one, it is awesome that you spend time with me on this important historical information. I really appreciate it. There's Lysander Spooner again, Brewster, Kirk, Diana, good to see you. Howard, Jen of Eve. I think I saw somebody said George Donnelly. Pretty cool to see you. I appreciate your work as well. Wasatch Andy.
I just want to push this a little bit, get it going. So guys, it looks like we're about 16 minutes in on this video. And I got to be honest with you, I'm getting pretty burned out. It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday. I'm having, looks like I'm having some internet issues as well. So it may be time to stop the show. What do you guys think? So yeah, I'm thinking, give me a bunch of ones if you guys can still see me. I'm thinking that we're about 16 minutes and 11 in. We're about 16 and 11 in on this. What I'd like to do is wrap up the show now and maybe come back tomorrow and finish it and then get into some other stuff, you know, some more exciting stuff about civil asset forfeiture perhaps, and about what's going on in that realm. And by the way, give me a bunch of overturned civil asset forfeitures in the sidebar. And for all my loyal Team MPE followers, thank you so much for joining me today. Let me just see here real quick. I want to try to get back over to my main. There we go. Well, the bottom line is I really appreciate you guys showing up today. And it means a lot that I have you guys in my audience. And I haven't had a whole lot of luck today getting a big audience, but we ended up getting about 5,000 or 6,000 views, which isn't too bad. But what I'd like you to do is to make sure to like and subscribe and make sure to save. You know, that little square thing where you press save? That is like the most important thing that you can do to help support my channel, is to do the save for later feature. And then hopefully we can get Rami. Thank you, AgeGo. OTCAF, overturned civil asset forfeiture. I believe that is one of the most destructive things to our republic, that law enforcement can steal your money legally without arresting you or having any charges against you, and then getting a portion of it back to buy new cruisers and to buy, you know, to fix up their police department while you lose everything. And so I see so many parallels with what we've seen in this video today and what's happening modernly. It's like history is repeating itself. The servant has become the master. Repeat after me. The servant has become the master. We need to take back our republic We need to start enforcing our borders. If we're going to allow people into our country and allow them to vote, at the very least, they should take an oath to uphold and protect the Constitution and learn about our way of life, like legal immigrants have to do, right? They have to take a test, like my wife did. She had to learn about the Constitution, learn about our founding fathers, instead of just allowing people to come up here for free phones, free hotels, free everything at our expense in exchange for what I believe is a vote. And obviously we know who they're going to vote for, the people who are giving them our money without our consent. And these are things that our founding fathers would have gone to war over. This is, to me, this is tyranny. To me, this is treason, and this should not be allowed to happen. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Now, it says here, Rami says, I am more concerned about the order followers than the judges. Judges have zero power without them. Well, yeah, I'm more concerned about where the marching orders are coming from, because if you can cut off the head, the body falls. And I think that there is major foreign interference in our country and a lot of dirty money in politics that has basically created a bunch of traitors who are in positions of authority. And the servant merely is following the instructions of the master. And if you have people in our country who don't even take an oath don't even know anything about our Constitution, and you make them law enforcement officers, give them the right to vote, that is a recipe for destruction, in my opinion. So I think it's something that we should all be very terrified of, and that we should be fighting against tooth and nail politically. And remember what I said at the beginning, you had all these different boxes to choose from, the ballot box. You had the cartridge box. Let me see if I can find it again. So we have the soap box, the ballot box. I'm going to try to share this with you guys. If I can. If I can't, I can't. Yeah, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to share this with you, but yeah, so you have the ballot box, the soap box, the ballot box, the jury box, and then at the end you have the cartridge box. And obviously none of us want it to get to the cartridge box. We want to be able to have a free society, but our society can't be free when we have people giving marching orders that are invalid. And so that's why I appreciate you guys coming on my channel, because it gives me a chance to share with you my knowledge and my understanding of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and what it takes to be a free man upon the land and a free woman upon the land. And so with that being said, always make sure to like and subscribe, make sure to save in that little square. And then Rami, thank you for coming again. Jeff, thanks for coming. Brett Ray, man, I really appreciate you getting those memberships out to people. That means a lot to me, big time. And Michelle Henry, of course, I always appreciate the flattering comments, but you don't have to compliment me. I'm just doing what I feel called to do. I want to help people. I care about people. And Age Go, as always, thank you for showing up. And Qualified Immunity, love having you. Rami, James Forbes, Kurt Bronson, woo! I don't see Chevy anywhere, but sometimes Chevy will pop in on some of my shorts, so that's always nice. And let me see what else. Who else do I have to thank before we get on the road? Get on the road for chow. Leo, thanks for coming again. And again, guys, Candy, thank you for the super chat. Guys, make sure that you share this and, listen to it in your car. Listen to it again, because you'll learn a lot while you're driving and whatnot. So again, guys, I'm going to head out for the night. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because you never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Semper Fi, do or die.